Okay, let's talk about one of the fascinating reasons the Japanese make stuff better, and it's a philosophy. It's a fascinating philosophy that stupid Americans don't follow, but which they should. Here's a typical American factory. Now this is fascinating. I used to work, and I can't mention the name because they probably sue my ass. I used to skydive every day. Okay, and you see, if your equipment don't work right when you're skydiving, I've literally skydived thousands of times, have hard creases in my legs. I've uploaded a couple of videos of me skydiving of my own helmet-mounted video camera. You see, if your equipment don't work right, you know, you're not going to return home alive. You will. You'll return home in a coffin. I worked at a place in DeLand, Florida, of which there are only two, so I certainly won't tell you which one it is. And we literally had... Now this is fascinating, but true. Totally true. It's even unbelievable. We had like few minutes training. Now, I made these plastic piece inserts on this huge press, and I did this part-time after going to photography school and, you know, do my printing, and then I drive to DeLand, Florida, which was west of Daytona Beach, for these inserts. And then another person that was hired with me that I knew, he was making ripcords, which you only throw out your pilot chute anymore as a professional, but new students, they'd actually use ripcords. It's basically an orange knob with a metal cord loop through it, and you know, you have to loop that through the inside of the plastic knob and then crimp it. We literally got like 5 minutes training. We weren't even told what sort of parameters they had to follow. You know, this is stuff that it's even worse than your seatbelt. I mean, it's even worse and more vital than... If you don't have your seatbelt on, you can still survive. You know, airbag, you know, something else. Okay, you hit your head on the steering wheel. You're still going to survive most of the time. If this don't work, you are guaranteed gonna die. You are going to die. This is totally true and totally unbelievable. So anyway, I'm back there cutting inserts, of which there were like 7 inserts for this container. And the buddy was told to make ripcords, and I think he got like a 3-minute course on making ripcords. And they only have 3 parts, but you have to make them a special way. Turns out, at the end of the day, he made a bunch, and like the next day, nobody checked his work. This is totally true. I'll never forget it because it's so amazing. It turns out someone finally inspected his work. It's like, oh my god, we got to trash all these. You made these wrong. You could have pulled the ripcord out. The rod would still been in there, which means your parachute, your pilot chute never would have released, which never would have pulled your main chute, and you would have died. I worked there. I can't tell you what place it was that I worked, but I didn't work there very long. Wow, yes, that's totally true. There's an American philosophy of, and that's like, if you don't make it right, you're gonna die. Let's talk about Genchi Genbutsu. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I'm hacking it to death because I don't speak Japanese. Key principle of Toyota system. It's actually a key principle of what Fuji does and Japanese manufacturers do. And instead of a bunch of snobby engineers like sitting behind closed doors, like drafting up stuff, and like the workers out there, you know, slaving away making whatever product, they actually are told to, the word actually, Genchi Genbutsu, at least from everything I determine, means actual place. It means actually being there. The way to diagnose the flow of manufacture or issues in design and or manufacture and or construction is to be there. You watch and observe. It serves a dual purpose. It serves more than a dual purpose, actually. It lets you see errors in design. When you see stuff being built, you'll start to see stuff. You actually have to have your head in there, okay? It's kind of like people that build engines on CAD software, but they don't realize that they've created this origami puzzle that is impossible to really fit into a car body, and it's like they're idiots. Here, one department of idiots is not connected to the other department of idiots, is not connected to the idiots on the floor that are building the damn thing. Japanese actually go there. They're forced to go there and actually watch what goes on, and that helps them A, correct things, and B, helps them improve the speed and the efficiency of production. And it's also proven that if you just have like some dumbass that's like manager over people working where they just walk around and go crack the whip and it's like, pay attention, that doesn't help anything. It turns out you actually have to have people walking through the builders all the time to keep their attention focused, but also to recognize issues and workflow problem, and this leads to supreme efficiency. And this is something dumbass Americans don't do. Case in point, like that one place that I worked. I mean, it's like if your camera fails, you got a bad day. Where I worked at there for a while, if that thing wasn't working right, you're gonna die. You're not gonna get hurt. You're not gonna get injured. You are going to die. Period. Never forget that. Is both hilarious and tragic at the same time. It's not funny at all, but it's totally tragic. Genchi Genbutsu. Some Japanese speaker out there is going to go, oh, you're mispronouncing it. And so you don't see it's Genchi I have no idea how it's pronounced. Anyways, Genchi Genbutsu means actually being there. And the benefits of this are not only twofold, but threefold, as I've already mentioned. And they call it the Genba attitude. Reflects the idea of seeing what the hell is going on. And when you see stuff being made, you'll come up with ideas to like say, well, this thing could really be made out of 6 parts instead of 10. You see it being made, it's like I could cut this out of production. I mean, that's improving things. That's speeding up efficiency. You're also watching people, how they build stuff. It's like, well, maybe if I designed this a different way, these parts would go together simpler. So this is something American industry needs to adopt, that the Japanese... There's an ancient saying, well, it's not an ancient saying, it's actually been around since the 1950s. The saying is that Americans invent it and the Japanese miniaturize it. Which is really true. It's like Americans will invent this big thing and the Japanese person goes... And then I've got a bodysuit made out of Japanese tattoos. Don't think I'm making fun of the Japanese people, for God's sakes. I don't want to hear that kind of crap. Yeah, I covered myself in $30,000 worth of Japanese artwork because I don't like the Japanese. I don't want to hear that crap from anybody. Stupid, lazy Americans. Yeah, I always remember that saying. I forgot who said it. It says Americans invent it and the Japanese miniaturize it and then sell it back to us. Made better and made much, much, much smaller. Americans think big, and Japanese think small. And that's really good in many sense. I mean, the old saying is great things come in small packages. That's what she said right now. So, someone's going to correct me on my pronunciation of this, but it's Genchi Genbutsu. And no, I don't speak Japanese. I translate ancient Greek. I read ancient Prakrit. I read Romanized Sanskrit. I used to be a Russian translator. I have a few years of German and French, which I've basically all forgotten. I speak Kazakh, and I had a couple years of Latin, most of which I've forgotten. But yeah, Japanese is not one of them, so obviously I'm probably butchering that. Whatever. I think you got the point, right? Right? Thank you. Hey! Konnichiwa. Sayonara.